In the second half of today's lesson, we are going to be doing some review problems where we're solving some systems. We've got one that's a word problem, and it's a good problem to use substitution with. And then we've got another substitution problem we'll do and an elimination. So let's take a look at the first one. It talks about a cable provider charges a setup fee. So whenever you see the word setup fee or some sort of initial fee, this is just one time. So you're not going to pay it again. It's just a one-time fee. But this part right here, so again, that was the $60 setup fee. But we're also going to pay, and that means we're going to add on an $80 charge each month. And so months is probably our unknown. Let's go into the question real quick. In how many months? Yes, that's the question. We're trying to find out the number of months. I don't know the number of months, so we're going to use the variable m. So each tells us that this is our variable amount. It's going to be 80m. And then we're also going to add on that $60. And so looking at the next one, another company charges a setup fee of $160. So that's like a one-time fee, remember? So it's $160 plus, because that and right there, and they charge $70 per month, so 70m. So those are the two different expressions for each company, so let's write them out. Since they want to know when the cost will be the same, we're going to come up with a variable for cost. Let's do C. So those costs should be the same. C should equal, and then the two different amounts, 60 plus 80m. But then we also have a cost that's going to be the same when it is 160 plus 70m. So the way we can solve this is substitution. Makes some sense here. So we can go ahead and take this 60 plus 80m and we can substitute it in for C in the other equation. So basically we're setting the two expressions equal to each other. And then what we've got left is this. 60 plus 80m equals 160 plus 170m. Oops, not 170, but just 70. So let's fix that. And so from there, what we can do is do some opposite operations to isolate the variable. And all I'm going to do here is I'm going to move the m's to the left-hand side. So I'm going to subtract that 70m, and I'm also going to subtract that 60 from both sides. And so all I've got left now is a 10m equals 100. Well, once we've got that, all we have to do is divide. We're just going to divide by 10, and we've got our value of m. So after 10 months, that's what you get when you divide 10 into 100, the two companies are going to be charging the same. So 10 months. Well, from there, they want to know how much that will end up being, because they want to know what will that cost be, it says. So all we have to do is substitute. Take that 10m and put it in place of m in one of the two equations. I'll do this first one here, and it'll give me the value of C, the cost. So 60 plus 80 times by 10. So you go ahead and do some of that math there. 80 and 10 multiply to make 800 plus the 60 gives me 860. So there it is. 860 is the cost when they after the 10 months, and that's how much they'll charge when they are the same amount. Well, here's another problem. It's a substitution problem, a little bit trickier because we got a fraction. Don't really deal too many substitution and fraction problems, but we do in this one. So here's what y is. When we use substitution is when we have a variable by itself, like this one. Y equals an expression. So let's take that expression, put it in place of y in the equation below. So let's rewrite what we've got. We've got a 3x minus 4. Now make sure you put in parentheses the expression, negative 1/2 x plus 9. And this all equals 6 at the end. So we go ahead and do some simplifying. We got to distribute the negative 4 over those terms. When we do that, what we have left is that 3x. And then a minus, actually it's a plus. Look at the signs here, I almost made a mistake. Negative times a negative makes it positive 2x. Half of 4 is 2. And then a minus 36, and this all equals 6. This problem looks like it's going to work out pretty well. Ooh, actually, maybe not, because when we go ahead, we have to add 36 to both sides, and that's going to give me a number that 5 doesn't go into quite yet. So it's going to end up being a fraction as an answer, but that's okay. We'll get through it. So we'll add these two numbers together. We get 5x equals, and then I go ahead and do this work. That gives me 42. And so when I divide by 5, it doesn't quite go in evenly. But that's okay. If this is just a problem that is asking for what is x and what is y, leave it as the improper fractions for now. And let's substitute that back in for x into one of these equations. I'm going to pick this top equation. So negative 1/2 times by 42 over 5, and then plus 9. This should all equal y. Well, 2 goes into 42 21 times. So it's going to be a negative 21/5. Now, instead of writing 9, I'm going to write 9 as a fraction, 9 over 1. Now, I need a 5 as a denominator, so I'm going to just multiply it by 5/5. So it's going to end up being plus, mark there, plus the 45 over 5. So then that's going to equal y. So I end up having to subtract these two numbers because they are opposite in sign. So when I do that subtraction, I am left with 24/5. And there's my answer. So y is 24/5 when x is 42/5. I'll just leave my answer like that and won't worry about changing it. I don't need to graph the point. It's not a word problem that's asking me something like about hours or distance or anything. So I'll leave it just like that. Well, here's another one. We are asked here to solve by elimination. So when I look at these variables, I look at the 7s and 5. Those are numbers. I'm going to end up having to multiply this by 5 and this by 7. That's going to give me some big numbers. I look at these numbers and I see 24 is a number that these two values go into. So let's change that y to 24. Let's multiply this top one by negative 2. That'll make it a positive 24. And that way, this way, we just need to multiply that bottom one by 3. Well, we go ahead and do that work. Here's what we get. Negative 14x. And then a positive 24y. And this all equals 44. Positive 44. The bottom one, that makes a 15x minus 24y. And this all equals, multiply those numbers, I get negative 42. This is a nice problem. When I add this stuff together, I get those y's to cancel, and look, I get a positive 1x. Negative 14 plus 15 makes 1x. And here I get 2. Look at that. We just got the value of x, just like that. Well, now I just need to substitute. I'm going to put it in for this equation right there before I modify it. 5 times by 2 minus 8y equals negative 14. Do some work there. I get 10 minus 8y equals negative 14. Add that 10, and we end up with, it looks like we're ending up having to subtract here. Oops, I made a mistake. Where did I make my mistake? I see it right there. You see, I put a plus 10 here. I was adding, and I shouldn't have added. You see, I shouldn't add because this is a positive 10. I need to subtract. Good thing I caught that error. So I look at the problems. I always see if I'm getting fractions. I want to better look at those answers and see if that makes sense. Go back into the last step here, and I need to subtract 10. And this is giving me a number that I won't get fractions with. And make sure you bring down those signs. Oftentimes people will make that error also. Two negatives mean I add, so that makes negative 24. And then from there, when I do that division, I end up with a positive 3. So y equals 3 when x is 2. There's the answer. So always look, check your work as you're going. Try not to go too fast or else you might make mistakes like I almost made.